Right now, big problems for a small borough.
Chaotic council meetings caught on camera, and that's just part of it. The NBC 10 investigators uncovered the borough runs the risk of bankruptcy. Harry Hairston was there to see it firsthand.
Taxing a less number. We don't have them. I don't care what you is.
This is the disorder of Wcau Borough's council meetings.
I can't even understand this.
Council members elected to do the people's business, resorting to screaming.
You cannot take a vote from me.
And name calling.
And this stupid woman right here.
How do you think the public sees you when they see that video?
Like a bunch of idiots.
Definitely.
This December 30th, 2014 meeting isn't the only example of council chaos.
Shut up, Paula.
The NBC 10 investigators found YouTube videos posted by the borough manager showing similar conduct at meetings for at least 1 year.
You took my vote away from me. You stole money. She stole money.
Please don't back my nameplate.
Voters elected some new council members last year. Power shifted and the fighting started.
You don't conduct business. It's a lot of arguments. You don't really get much business done.
If you open up the borough code, it doesn't tell you how a meeting should run.
Ed Canetto is the senior director of the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs. Canetto couldn't speak specifically about the actions of Wcau's council. His association trains and educates elected officials on the best ways to conduct meetings.
When anybody is not showing respect to each other, it's not positive for the community.
The PSAB recommends following parliamentary procedures, such as Robert's Rule of Order.
You know, it should not be a winner-take-all type of event.
After the NBC 10 investigators started digging deeper, we found the infighting is the least of the 0.3 square mile borough's problems. This state auditor general's report released last month lists Wcau as severely distressed with $1.4 million in liabilities and a pension underfunded at 47%. The state auditor says the pension issues could force the borough into bankruptcy.
We're about a little bit over $500,000 in debt.
Borough manager Paula Brown showed us boxes of financial documents. She says the borough owes the state $81,000 for improperly using liquid fuel funding and $313,000 to the Darby Creek Joint Authority towards sewer needs.
For the last 8 years, the record keeping here has been atrocious.
Some council members target their screaming at Brown. They believe she controls how the majority of council members vote.
Sometimes it's just shoved down our throat by our borough manager, whether it comes to the table or not.
Nobody's perfect, and, you know, she's might have overstepped her bounds on a few things.
Brown is no stranger to controversy. While mayor of Darby, she made national headlines. In 2004, Brown locked herself into her office, refusing to move to make more room for the police department.
Okay, it seems like they want to fight and stuff, but they're jumping out of their seats.
That's my voter registration card. I'm a member, I really do vote. What can we do? I'm asking you, because it's out of control.
Talking with council members, the drama, the dysfunction, and the debt won't be over anytime soon.
We might come to the next one when we got the boxing gloves really on, you know what I mean?
Some council members and the mayor sent this letter to the Attorney General seeking help during the meetings. The AG referred them to the Delaware County District Attorneys. Now, tomorrow on NBC 10 News at 4, we look into allegations of misspending and questionable accounting in Wcau.
The NBC 10 investigators are looking into allegations of misappropriated taxpayer money. Harry Hairston is here with what they found.
Well, Jim and Renee and folks, we combed through dozens of these borough documents, examining checks, spreadsheets, and bank statements. Documents the borough manager says is proof taxpayers' money was misused. When you put aside council's infighting and name calling,
This stupid woman right here is
borough manager Paula Brown says you'll find financial problems.
For the last 8 years, the record keeping here has been atrocious.
And Brown's allegations don't stop there.
It appears that money was misappropriated.
Brown points to these boxes of financial records as proof.
I think the root of all evil is the credit cards / debit cards.
She tells us the borough had 9 debit cards attached to 24 bank accounts and some cards in council members' names.
They had an expense account, they had a gas account, they had the general fund.
Borough bank statements detail expenses Brown says had nothing to do with borough business, such as charges at Philadelphia restaurants, out-of-state retail stores, cash withdrawals from gas stations, and even a hair salon.
People don't pay their taxes so the elected officials can go out to dinner and treat themselves, or so they can fill their personal cars up with gasoline, or so they can get their hair done in West Philadelphia. You don't do that.
Brown also says the borough collected cash for services, then dipped into the envelopes for petty cash.
When you receive cash in a municipality for anything, that has to be deposited, no matter for what. You don't keep that for petty cash.
When you put cash into the envelopes before they were deposited, they would also be used as petty cash?
They would be used as petty cash if we didn't get a chance to get to the bank before they needed to be used, yes.
Councilmember and former Finance Committee Chair Martha Van Auken denies any wrongdoing. She says all envelope transactions had receipts and were entered in a computer. Van Auken insists the cash was used to buy gas for police cars. And she says withdrawals from gas stations were for police car fill-ups.
They would withdraw money, give it to put it in an envelope, they would use the money, put in their receipts.
And they withdraw the money with their borough card, credit card?
With the borough card, because it was for gas.
Van Auken tells us she doesn't know anything about a council person spending money during out-of-state trips or at a hair salon.
These would not be borough charges.
There should not be borough charges, and I don't know where they came from.
But the councilwoman does say it was her idea to put another councilwoman's husband on the payroll.
I can't give any information on that. It's being investigated right now.
According to borough records, Councilwoman Tonette Prey's husband was paid thousands of dollars for computer work. Council approved the payments in March of 2012. But records show the borough paid Prey's husband's company for more than a year before the council's vote.
I don't believe in nepotism, okay? So therefore, I would never hire anyone in my family to do anything.
We reached out to Prey several times. She refused to answer our questions.
She's never asked me to explain anything.
Van Auken questions why Brown is making these claims.
I don't know what Paul is doing. I don't know what Paul's end game is.
Brown tells us she's a whistleblower trying to clean up the borough.
When you're in a war or a battle, you don't give up. You just keep on going, and we're going until we get to the end and we correct it.
Well, we've confirmed the State Ethics Commission is investigating the problems in Cowan, and the Delaware County District Attorney's Office tells us it's reviewing the material. Now, tomorrow at 4, more borough problems. This time, they literally come to the borough manager's front door with allegations of backroom deals.
So how likely is it, Harry, that someone will end up being charged?
Well, that's going to be up to the district attorney's office, but I can tell you that the borough manager, she did meet with the district attorney's office, so she says, and that was last Friday, and she also says that she has testified before a grand jury from Delaware County looking into possible wrongdoing at the borough.
This week on NBC 10 News at 4, we've been telling you about the problems at Colwyn Borough.
The infighting and allegations of corruption. Now, new problems have come to light. Harry Hairston and the NBC 10 investigators uncover what some say was a backroom deal to take over the borough.
Are you telling me you did not violate the Sunshine Act?
I walked into Paul Brown's house.
Is that a yes or no, Fred?
I'd say yeah. But the ends justify the means because we never hurt the borough.
So you admit it?
I'll admit I walked over to Paul Brown's house and with 3 other council people.
You violated that law.
Pat was out there with a camera.
And you got caught.
I got caught.
He got caught by another council member.
I videotaped several members leaving Paula Brown's house.
Councilwoman Pat Williams refuses to show us the video, but says she caught council members Paul Muser, Jesse Brundage, Masara Camara, and Fred Lesher on camera going into and leaving the borough manager's home on December 29th, 2014. That's 4 out of 7 total council members.
Fred, Were there council members getting together at Paula's house on the 29th of December?
Paul was having a party. I don't really party. I know I stopped over and dropped a newspaper article. I know, I'm telling you.
Brown acknowledges the get-together. She says it was a holiday tradition. She even told us the mayor was invited. But council members Tonette Prey, Martha Van Auken, and Williams were not.
The fact that you had a majority of council members or any elected officials meeting at somebody's home, you got a majority, that would not meet the sunshine requirements.
Ed Canetto is the senior director of the Pennsylvania Association of Boroughs. He says it's a violation of the state Sunshine Act for elected officials to conduct government business in private. The act protects the public's right to see its government at work.
By law, there are certain times you can get together and certain times you can't.
Williams believes decisions were made, including lowering taxes and one targeting her.
Was decisions made to vote me out as president, Fred? Was it just, don't, be honest.
The very next day, December 30th, the 4 council members called an emergency meeting and removed Williams as president.
Give me the whole thing.
Newly elected President Paul Muser even had his gavel ready.
You cannot take a vote from me.
Sit down. You can't say nothing.
And he needed it. Council members and the mayor had a chaotic meeting, in part because of the party the night before.
And you say, what about that little get-together?
Hey, you know, I don't think anybody got hurt. The taxes were lowered the next day, and that's what counted to me.
We reached out to the other council members invited to the party. Councilman Brundage told us that he was there. At council members Muser and Kamara did not respond to our phone calls and emails, and no one from the Colwyn Council has been charged with breaking the Sunshine Act. Now, the DA would handle any case and at most would issue a fine.
State officials showed up to the latest meeting for the borough of Colwyn. It's their first meeting since the NBC 10 investigators aired stories about questionable accounting, possible misuse of funds, and potential secret meetings.
Investigative reporter Harry Hairston was there to see if the infighting and if the screaming continued.
Now, back the off.
They were at it again.
I have this is President.
Colwyn Borough Council members slinging salty language.
Ridiculous.
This during what may be the most important meeting for the borough's financial health. $1.1 million in debt.
About an executive session with Chief Hills.
Its own financial consultant says council's behavior is partly to blame.
There has been a lacking of solid financial management systems, poor record keeping, and little internal controls.
Borough Manager Paula Brown says Councilmember Tonette Prey misused borough funds. Records show Prey's husband earned thousands of taxpayers' dollars as a computer consultant without council consent.
Any of those true?
I have no comment.
Prey did address the public, calling for federal intervention.
We need the Justice Department in here.
Prey believes she and fellow councilwoman Pat Williams
I don't play games.
have been targeted by Brown and Borough Police Chief Brian Hills with tickets and surveillance. Prey even takes it a step further.
If I go missing or I wind up dead, you better look at Paula Brown, Chief Hills.
If anybody should be in fear of their life, it should be me. Tonette Prey just created another fantasy in her land of make-believe.
All in front of state officials there to help the borough.
Have you seen anything quite like this?
I have to honestly say, in the 67 counties that I've traveled, I've never seen anything like this, ever.
The council did agree unanimously on one thing last night. They have accepted the state's help. Now they plan to have a special meeting to vote on whether to take a loan from the state to pay outstanding bills. For the investigators, Harry Hairston, NBC 10 News.
All new at 4:30, a borough considering dumping its fire department.
For months, the NBC 10 investigators have shown you out-of-control Colwyn Council meetings, exposed allegations of misspending, now problems with the fire company. Investigative reporter Harry Hairston is joining us with the latest. Harry?
There are more claims of misuse of taxpayers' money and a lack of communications that has the fire department catching heat from the borough manager.
The Colwyn Volunteer Fire Company has been serving the borough for more than 100 years. But borough manager Paula Brown says its services are no longer needed.
I have never seen a fire company operate the way Station 92 does. It's horrible.
Brown says there are questions over the department's spending habits, including bills for $5,000 worth of regular gasoline. The fire truck and engine use diesel fuel. The borough insures the company's equipment and workman's compensation, but Brown tells us Colwyn Fire has not given her the names of the volunteers.
We have no idea who the members are. We don't know if they're trained, if they're certified. We have no idea. They do not communicate.
On top of that, Brown says fire companies outside Colwyn answer more calls in the borough than its own. So instead of giving the Colwyn Fire Company the taxpayer-funded fire relief money for 2014, she sent it back to the state and has included an agenda item in the monthly council meetings to unrecognize the Colwyn volunteers.
It's probably the smart thing to do because it would cost the taxpayers much less. You know, right now we are absorbing a lot of bills for an organization that is not functioning.
The agenda item hasn't been voted on in part because Colwyn council meetings look like this.
We have nothing to hide here.
Colwyn Fire President Maurice Clark disagrees with Brown's assessment of his company and says it does respond to calls.
We all do the work. We have some very good firefighters here that's been in school, trained very well.
Clark does agree that the borough needs members' information, but he believes Brown already has it.
She's supposed to know who operates the truck for insurance purposes. If she doesn't have it, I will have a problem giving it to her.
When it comes to questions about the fire company's spending,
I am digging into that. I'm asking for records of gas, diesel fluid, and all the spendings.
But he insists any money raised through boot drives or other fundraisers are private and none of Brown's or the borough's business.
Why should we have to tell her every nickel that we spend?
Why wouldn't you?
Because the money doesn't come from the borough.
There should be no reason why you wouldn't want to share that information.
Tom Murray is the chairman of Delaware County's Emergency Services Advisory Committee. He says most volunteer fire departments operate largely on private donations, but transparency is key.
The more a community knows about what the fire service in their community is doing, puts them in a better light.
For Brown, it's about more than just transparency. It's also about accountability.
The Colwyn taxpayers are entitled to know where their tax money is going.
For Clark, it's about keeping the 100-year-plus tradition of firefighting in Colwyn.
We're here to serve the people of Colwyn, and that's what we intend to do.
This isn't the first time a fire company has been unrecognized in Colwyn. After the NBC 10 investigators uncovered the previous company operating a bar inside the firehouse, the Borough Council unrecognized that company in favor of the current one. For the investigators, Harry Hairston, NBC 10 News.
Now the NBC 10 investigators. From raised voices to physical violence, the chaos in Colwyn reaches a whole new level.
The borough manager and some council members say they fear for their safety. NBC 10's investigative reporter Harry Hairston has the latest.
An incident caught on video inside Colwyn Council chambers late last week sent tempers flaring.
Colwyn Council President Paul Muser gets fed up at last week's meeting. The infighting seemingly too much.
He went to pick up a nameplate and he accidentally picked up my tape recorder to bang that as the gavel, and he went to bang it and it flew up, you know, after it hit the table, it flew up in the air.
He can get away with saying maybe his gavel slipped, but he doesn't hold the recorder. He picked the recorder up and threw it.
But Borough Manager Paula Brown insists the incident was no big deal.
I mean, the victim here is the table. The table would have to press charges.
Councilmember Pat Williams says she fears for her safety and Colwyn police aren't doing their job.
I want justice here. The state police needs to come in and find out what's going on in Colwyn.
Colwyn Mayor Michael Blue has no intention of bringing in outside law enforcement.
It is getting really dangerous and really rough now, but my cops can handle it.
Brown says danger spilled over to her house over the weekend. In reports aired by the NBC 10 investigators, she's been critical of borough spending by some council members and the fire department. She tells us after she posted our story on her Facebook page, someone vandalized her car.
I said, uh-oh. Then he went around the other side All 4 were slashed. These were brand new $250 tires.
Brown says she never expected something like this would happen.
This is getting worse now.
Council members in the fire department say they've done nothing wrong. The Delaware District Attorney's Office is investigating borough spending. For the investigators, Harry Hairston, NBC 10 News.
Here's a question for you now. Would you loan your employer thousands of dollars?
Well, that's what one elected official did, and now she wants her money back. One problem, this municipality, well, they said no. NBC 10 investigator Harry Hairston here with that story. And Harry, how much money are we talking about?
Well, just under $15,000, and all from a retirement account. Now the question, will it get back to where it came from?
December 2011, the borough of Wcau didn't have enough money to pay its employees.
We're talking the police department. We're talking about guys who put their lives out there every single day, not getting a check for Christmas for their kids, paying bills, mortgages.
And Councilwoman Martha Van Auken was about to go on a cruise with her family.
I couldn't see leaving the borough without a payroll. So I took out a loan on my retirement for $14,999.
She says she deposited the money in the borough's payroll account and left on vacation. Now, 4 years later, Van Auken wants her loan back.
And the agreement with the borough at the time is that they would return the money to you?
No, there was no agreement with the borough. I did this without the borough's knowledge. I didn't tell the borough.
I've never heard of anything like that.
Rob Caruso is the executive director of the Pennsylvania Ethics Commission. He says there is nothing in the ethics code prohibiting an official or employee from loaning a government money. But there's usually a process, including a vote by council.
Just, I think, is a matter of common sense that you would have somehow, it would have been documented, approved by the governing body of the municipality.
I have no records.
Cowan Borough Manager Paula Brown isn't convinced Van Auken should be paid.
We have to have some type of concrete evidence that she did do this, but if the council never authorized it, it's not authorized.
The NBC 10 investigators obtained a borough audit report showing a deposit in 2011 for $14,999. It's labeled loan, Martha Van Auken. Van Auken provided us with bank documents she says show the money was taken out of her account. Here's a note instructing the bank to transfer the funds to Cowan's payroll account.
You don't have the money. Oh, we have money.
It's no surprise Brown and Van Auken disagree on whether the money should be repaid. They are on opposing sides in chaotic Cowan council meetings that sometimes bleed over to the hallway.
She says it's her money and she wants it back. Where does the borough go from here?
It was never legally authorized. So, I mean, that's something that a judge is going to have to eventually decide.
And that's exactly what Van Auken is planning. She's going to sue the borough to get her money back.
It was a mistake. Now that I see that it was a mistake, but at that time I was emotional and I felt that if I could do something, I would do it.
Van Auken is not just out of $15,000 with penalties and fees. She tells us she's lost more than $20,000. Rob Caruso with the Ethics Commission says if there is evidence the transaction took place, the borough probably should repay Van Auken. For the investigators, Harry Hairston, NBC 10 News.
In an NBC 10 exclusive, tensions have once again boiled over among leaders in a Delaware County town, and our cameras were there as a council meeting erupted in shouting. NBC 10's Matt DeLucia has been following the fire exchanges between council members. Matt, what happened and what are borough leaders saying about it?
Well, Tracy, one council member said they had to make changes or the fighting would never stop. And when that happened, the fighting got worse.
This is don't have nobody to
The fighting among Colwyn Borough's council members came to a head last night with name-calling, profanities, and firings.
A motion to reorganize council.
All right.
Take the vote, Paula.
Take the vote, Paula.
We actually got rid of basically a faction on council that was causing a lot of trouble.
Fred Lesher is the new council president, but he didn't start the night that way. Here's what happened. After a vote to fire the borough code enforcer, there was an attempt to adjourn the meeting. President Paul Muser and another member left, but the remaining council members continued with their own meeting, firing borough manager Paula Brown and then installing Fred Lesher as the new president.
And this fighting and arguing was going to go on to the end of time if we didn't make changes.
I've been in politics 42 years. I think I have the most longevity as far as being in the borough and the political experience. So I never seen nothing like this in my entire life. So, you know, it's something that's going to have to be researched or investigated, or, you know, there's going to have to be hard questions asked.
So you're going to fire me now?
NBC 10 has covered several meetings that ended in argument. Now the DA's office and state has been asked to step in. Mayor Michael Blue says there is nothing he can do, and the fighting makes him sick.
It seems like to me every time we get on the right track, somebody step in and shut us back down.
And moments ago, our own Harry Hairston spoke with Paula Brown, the borough manager, who some council members say is fired. She says she is not. And you see that office right there. She has stayed in her office all night. Here's what she had to say.
Will these doors be open for business today?
The borough residents can do business here. They can contact me. They will not be open to the 4 council members because they're trying to steal records. They're trying to overtake the bank accounts. And I have a duty to protect the residents of Colwyn, and that's what I'm doing.
And the former council president now is calling this whole thing a coup. The NBC 10 investigators, of course, are following this story. They will have more throughout the day. For now, I'm live in Colwyn. Matt DeLucia, NBC 10 News.
To a developing story now in Delaware County. The council chaos continues in the small community of Colwyn at this hour. NBC 10 is live there right now. So here's what's going on there. Yet another public battle ended in confusion and change in power in that tiny borough of Colwyn.
The borough manager was fired and the town has a new council president, but some say the moves were illegal. The borough manager refuses to hand over her keys or leave the building. As Harry Hairston and the NBC 10 investigators report, the borough manager tells us there's only one way she's going to leave her job.
If the courts order you out, would you obey the court?
If the court does, I would. I would take my order from a judge.
Just moments before Borough Manager Paula Brown spoke to us, Delaware County District Attorney detectives carted multiple boxes of financial records away. Brown says she asked the detectives to come.
The main priority is to protect the records. Protect the records, the documents.
Earlier, Brown let us in as she gathered the documents for investigators. During last night's power move, 4 council members voted to fire Brown. You're saying that that was illegal, that you are still the borough manager?
Absolutely, I am.
You need to pay the bills.
Things got heated last night just before the 4 council members took that vote to oust her. The vote came after Council President Paul Muser says he adjourned the meeting. But 4 council members say the meeting wasn't properly stopped and continued on to both remove the president and fire Brown.
I'm council president because we made a motion to adjourn, and what they did was illegal.
The person making the motions, Brown and Muser's former ally, Fred Lesher, who says he's the new council president.
We actually got rid of basically a faction on council that was causing a lot of trouble.
Councilmember Jessie Brundage supports Brown and brought her food this morning.
Did you get me a straw?
Brown says until the court orders her out, she's not letting those 4 council members who voted against her in. Those members reached by phone had no comment. For the investigators in Colwyn, Harry Hairston, NBC 10 News.
Well, the chaos continues in Colwyn, Delaware County. In the last hour, borough leaders spoke about police not able to patrol because of money issues. NBC 10's Randy Gyllenhaal is live in Colwyn. And Randy, what's happening there now?
Well, this is just the latest in a series of problems that NBC 10 has been documenting for months. They're facing $1 million deficit here, and now the town is unable to even fill up their own gas tanks and their own vehicles here at the borough lot. The gas company that they've been using has suspended their account amid all the uncertainty here in the borough. Now, what this means is that police cars, the mayor tells me fire trucks, all city vehicles are just unable to fill up their tanks. They can't drive. The borough employees replace 6 police officers who may now have to fill up out of their own pockets. The mayor here calling this a crisis situation. He says the borough is unable to provide even the most basic services right now.
The police vehicles is barely running on a limp leg, you know, and now they don't have no gas. How's they going to patrol just in case we get an emergency and call went?
This latest crisis comes just a day after the Borough Council voted to get rid of the borough manager, Paula Brown. Ms. Brown has alleged council members used sloppy accounting to siphon money from taxpayers, and in protest yesterday, she locked herself out of her own office. Meanwhile, the district attorney here in Delaware County has launched an investigation into the financial mess here in the borough. But in the meantime, Colwyn's going to need to figure out how to fill up these cars. They're going to have to find a gas station that will take their credit, and paychecks are due on Monday. It's unclear right now if the borough will make payroll. We are live in Delaware County. Randy Gyllenhaal, NBC 10 News.
Now to the ongoing chaos that is local government in Colwyn, Delaware County. The Borough Council will meet tonight to discuss the future of Borough Manager Paula Brown. It's part of what the mayor called a crisis over Colwyn's finances. NBC 10's Matt DeLucia is live in Colwyn. Matt, tell us what's going on today.
Well, that executive session, Tracy, is scheduled for 7 o'clock tonight right here at the Borough Hall behind me. Now, you might recall that during Thursday night's profanity-laced council meeting, several members voted to fire manager Paula Brown as a way of saving money. Now, Brown called the action illegal and locked herself in her office all night. Well, the saga continued to unfold throughout the weekend. The Delaware County DA's office brought out documents from the building as questions about struggling finances and mismanagement continue. Now, some Colwyn residents and even council members we spoke with call this chaos and embarrassment.
I think it's been years and years of corruption, it sounds like.
What's going on here? It's not politics as usual. It's anarchy.
Now, Colwyn has $1 million shortfall, but Councilman Fred Lesher argues that Colwyn has $1 million in the bank to pay the bills. But because of the financial fears this weekend, one vendor, a gas station, stopped selling gas to the police department, and the DA's office is investigating those claims of mismanagement. Now, Borough Manager Paula Brown says she will be right back here at work this morning and plans to pack her things in the event that the meeting tonight does not go her way. Live in Colwyn this morning, I'm Matt DeLucia, NBC 10 News.
You will not intimidate me.
New at 11, a political battle turns into a street fight. Tonight, police had to break up this heated argument after a government meeting in Colwyn. The NBC 10 investigators were the first to show you the chaos unfolding in this Delaware County borough. NBC 10's Denise Nakano is live in Colwyn tonight, where there are already signs of change tonight. Denise?
Well, Jim, a locksmith came into Borough Hall and changed the locks here at the hall, all to send a message to Paula Brown that she is done as borough manager.
Paula, goodbye. You are to get in the car. Goodbye.
The chaos defining Colwyn spilled into the street outside Borough Hall.
Yeah, I get paid. So what? So what?
Yelling matches involving opponents and supporters of fired borough manager Paula Brown. Brown herself and anybody else who saw fit to speak out.
Hold on, why you asking me? Who's asking me? You know who did.
It's absurd for this tiny little town that we are to have this much angst and carrying on.
This man threatened to fire me.
This followed a heated council meeting this past Thursday when council fired Brown.
I'm so sorry.
Those who voted for Brown's ouster emerged from a closed-door executive meeting tonight with only this to say.
No comments. That's it. No comments. Nothing comments.
Colwyn's new council president says Thursday's decision to fire Brown remains unchanged.
We eliminated the borough manager job to cut spending.
That speaks volumes that they are not competent enough to run a government. The governor needs to come down here. Somebody needs to come down here.
Council President Lesher authorized for the locks of Borough Hall to be changed. Brown says she's concerned by the measures taken to keep her out as she accuses some members of council of questionable spending and extortion.
Freddie, tell them why you tried to take $3,000 from me.
And that would be Freddie Lesher, the council president, who denies those allegations. Police have orders to arrest Brown if she tries to get into the building, but Paula Brown tells me tonight that she plans to come here tomorrow morning around 9 o'clock, and she's happy to have a police escort to go inside to get her belongings. Reporting live from Colwyn, I'm Denise Nakano, NBC 10 News.
And chaos in Colwyn continues this morning, just hours after the borough manager was officially fired. NBC 10's Matt DeLucia is in Colwyn live for us this morning. Matt, there was a confrontation last night, and you witnessed even more arguing in the last couple of hours. Tell us what's going on.
That's right, Vi. Former borough manager Paula Brown showed up right here earlier this morning to try to get her belongings, but she was turned away at the door, and then more arguing ensued. We have some video of that. Council President Fred Lesher said she was to come back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock to collect her things. Now, Paula Brown says there's evidence in her office that needs to go to the district attorney over claims of mismanagement and misappropriations. Now, last night there was a special session here at the Borough Hall in which it was made clear that the firing of Paula Brown at Thursday's council meeting was in fact official, that the locks were changed to the hall last night, but Paula Brown still has not turned in the keys to her office, and she says she won't.
You know, and simple things like handing the keys over, handing the passwords over, are not what's happening.
There are files in here that need to go to the district attorney for the investigation on him and you.
According to the
what is wrong with your brain?
$1 million in the red, and this morning Council President Fred Lesher trying to get 3 signatures to pay for gassing up the police cars, and now he says he needs to get into Brown's office to get the check. So he says at noon the locksmith is going to come down here, try to get into Paula Brown's office so they can get that check and pay for the gas for the police cars. So of course this saga is not over, at least not yet. Live in Colwyn, Delaware County, Matt DeLucia, NBC 10 News.
I'm not going to argue with anybody, but what I want is...
New at 11, accusations flying once again in Colwyn tonight. The borough's new council held its first meeting after changing council presidents and ousting the former borough manager, as you might expect. The meeting was not without controversy. NBC 10 investigator Harry Hairston was there.
If I'm going to defy the Delaware County District Attorney, you're nuts. You are nuts.
Since the Colwyn coup more than a week ago, council now needs 3 new people to sign borough checks in order to pay bills. Former council president Paul Muser says he won't be one of them, claiming the Delaware district attorney told him to stay off the borough's signature list. Why did he tell you that?
I don't know. But I'm not going to defy the DA.
That was just part of the controversy at council's first meeting. Several residents sounded off about council's past practices.
It's been absolutely disgraceful. And now you've become a statewide embarrassment.
And even before council took one official action, the former borough manager, Paula Brown, made her presence known, accusing some council members of shredding borough documents.
Shredded Friday, have been shredding all week. We were able to retrieve that amount.
There's nobody did any shredding of borough documents or anything like that. Absolutely not.
But Brown says she plans to take these bags of shredded papers to the district attorney's office tomorrow. Meantime, the town solicitor says he's asking the state to step in to appoint a temporary borough manager to help the town with his finances and train new staff. In Colwyn, for the investigators, Harry Hairston, NBC 10 News.
Only NBC 10 has the latest on the chaos in Colwyn. More arguing at tonight's council meeting. Biggest outburst when council members realized they didn't have enough votes to overturn the mayor's veto of their decision to do away with the borough manager's position.
You can't get the veto power. Use it for something sensible.
The fighting prompted the mayor to leave the meeting. Former borough manager Paula Brown was again at the center of the discord. As she showed Councilwoman Pat Williams records in the office, the two argued and grabbed documents out of each other's hands. All this at the first meeting for the state-appointed borough administrator.